right, so the biggest takeaway today from our class with Jared Spokowsky, I just kind of reinforced what I have thought and we believe is that we need to support the bees. They're very self-sufficient on their own, and for the most part, managing diseases and brood trouble is best helped by good nutrition and strong hives. So prevention is the best method of controlling those issues. And so it comes down to their nutrition and diversified forage. So we can give them some supplements, but for the most part, what's in nature is best for the bees anyway. And the best solution to do that and to support all of their amino acids and all of the vitamins and kind of supportive nutrition that they need, they have to forage that in different types of flowers and different plants. And so having these, as Jared explained, instead of having monocrop culture where you have this big flow of food and resources, you want to have a bunch of smaller peaks of flow and resources and food. And so a much larger diversified diet is best for the bees.
Yeah.
Yep. This one?
Yeah.
So we use these aluminum push pins.
Oh, so you just use a push pin. Okay.
Yep. You can use a small nail or anything.
Would you use a queen excluder?
Yes, so you'll use a queen excluder after you get the brood boxes full. So
Okay.
when the bees get strong enough, they're gonna raise their family in 2 boxes. And then before you put the honey super on, we put a queen excluder
You
across
put that on
there.
after they fill those up. So
Correct.
would you start off with one deep box before they fill, and then add the second one after they fill the first one up, or do you put two of them
Correct.
on at the same time?
Yeah, so you're getting nukes.
Yes.
Yeah, so you'll put, with just one box, you'll put the nuke in the middle of that box.
Okay, yep.
So that's gonna be 5 frames, so that's
Yep.
half of the box. When they get to 70% full,
Then you
they
put the second deep
put the
box.
second box
Okay.
on. When they get that one 70%, then you're gonna put a super on for honey, and you'll put your queen excluder there. You don't have to, but what's gonna happen is the queen will use some of that space to lay eggs.
Okay.
So just to keep the honey super, I prefer to use a queen excluder so that the honey stays in the honey and the family stays where the family is at. And one thing we recommend when you do a queen excluder, so that's a little bit harder for the bees to, it's an obstacle to get through, so we use a top entrance.
Okay.
So I do a queen excluder and a top entrance.
Gotcha.
And then the forage bees that are coming in with honey can come straight in and store it and go back out and work.
Gotcha. Okay. How can you manage the dearth of pollen in the summer months? Dwayne said it could be improved.
Dwayne said it could be
Improved?
Improved. So basically, the best thing you can do is plant flowers that bloom at different times.
Okay.
Right. So you want to look for things that are going to bloom in June and July. It's really difficult, but there are some things that will bloom, and there is some forage.
Okay.
And then largely, the bees are just kind of going to hang tight. Like they know it's coming. So that's why they're so aggressive in the springtime, building up resources and storing resources. They know that that dearth is coming, and it's just kind of like that hump they've got to get over.
And what's the frequency of mite checks? Yeah, I'm assuming you check for mites every time you look at the hive, whenever you go out and do.
So if you're going to do, there's different ways to check for mites, but an alcohol wash where you're actually counting mites on bees, so you're killing 300 bees, I really only do that once usually like twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, like they lowered the threshold now. The threshold for mites used to be 3%. And now they're lowering that threshold to 1%, kind of gradually walking it back. It's really important to get out in front of the mites in the spring, and then it's really important coming out of summer in the fall. You want healthy bees going into winter, so you want to address mites for sure in the fall.
Okay.
So I recommend 2 times a year for doing a mite kill count.
Okay.
You can also, when you got the screen bottom board, there's some other ways you can watch for mite drop on the board. There's some, and deformed wing virus, you're always going to look for deformed wing virus. He didn't talk about it here, but he'll talk a little bit more. The wings when that virus, the deformed wing virus is almost certainly caused by, or largely it's caused by varroa mite, and their wings are not developed. They're just like these little ribbons.
Okay.
So every time I do an inspection, I'm looking for deformed wing virus.
Gotcha. And then what is the biggest mistakes we should avoid?
Oh, that's like the loaded question of all loaded questions. Avoid killing bees. There's all kinds of ways. So the one thing that I say about, it's animal husbandry, really, the bees know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And Jared talked a lot about that. And really our best role is to support them. You can't fence them in. You own livestock that you can't put a border on. And so really we're a supportive role. So we're trying to make their lives a little bit easier and reduce the stresses that the rest of our society puts on them and the rest of the things they're getting into are putting on them. So good nutrition, planting flowers, keeping things forage, keep them in an area where they're not having to fight ants. So keep them in well-drained, dry area. There's a lot of things that you can do that support them and allow them to thrive.
Gotcha.
They don't need, so like we don't have to go and like change their diapers and that kind of stuff, right? It's really more just giving them the opportunity to
making
be
sure they have the right flowers and stuff like that, like he was talking about today for the
Correct.
nutrition and things like that.
Yeah. And then if you start seeing, like we go in and we'll do an inspection, and really what you're looking for is you're just looking for trouble. Like, is there something abnormal that's going on that we can help minimize
Gotcha.
or help address?
Gotcha.